Hello, my friends, and welcome back. So, I like to inform, I like to educate on this channel. And so today I want to review a particular video. And it comes from this YouTube channel called I Never Knew TV. And I like this channel. And the reason for that is it really delves into deep topics, and they have great guests. And this particular black lady, Naraya, I don't want to butcher her name, but I'll put it here. And she's very informed on why we're here in the black community.
Can you talk about the strategic destruction of black men and how the black community assists in the destruction of black men?
Sure. So in order to really get a full understanding, we need to go back. And we need to go back into about the 60s, when up until that time, black families were getting married at the highest rates. They were out marrying whites at that time. When the welfare system came into play, they created the man in the house rule, which removed men from the homes, in which the government now became the men of the family.
And so that you guys understand, Black Caribbean and Black America aren't very far apart because of the proximity to America, poisoning of American television, any virus that America has, all the regions that are close to America that has American television and American movies, they catch the same damn virus. So growing up in the Caribbean, I see all the similarities of how black women treat black men, how the whole culture, the rap culture, everything starts to intertwine with American culture. So listen, I was subjected to it. The thing is, I always like to go back to the root. I want to understand why the hell something occurs. And I've always been that way. I want to know why we sneeze and say, excuse me, versus when we cough, we don't say it. I want to understand culture. I've always had this passion. And so if you think about having that same mindset over decades and decades of existence, so you'll understand why my depth of knowledge is not only vast, but it's varied. In other words, I never focused on one thing. I'm a jack of all trades. I've never really mastered any. But the point is, that's what brings wisdom. But I don't want to get too far off track. Listen, you're going to love this session. You're going to love how this woman breaks down why we're here in the black community. She's going to take it back from the beginning. Why our culture is like this. And she will explain why the women have this disdain and almost disrespect for the black man.
Mm-hmm. You groom him to be a high value, productive, competitive, successful man. Mm-hmm. Right. Would you want him getting with a woman that treats him like you treat men?
I don't know.
Because this don't occur in any other community. We have to understand where this shit came from. We have to understand the root. Because the problem is we hear and we can't seem to cure it. Black women and black men are at odds with each other. If you watch my video yesterday, I get accused, I don't like black women. Of course I like black women. I have black sisters. My mother was black. This is the way the world works. I don't care what color you are. I'm going to love you if you're not an asshole. But I just happen to have a great family and we get along well. So let's listen to this lady. I'm going to stop the video every once in a while because, it's not my video, but I'm going to also chime in and throw in my 2 cents on this particular video. But I want you to really listen and understand why we are here.
All right, Naraya, I want to say welcome. I Never Knew TV, right? Appreciate you guys coming up.
Thank you.
We're going to get right into it. First question I have is, I would like to ask about, I heard you speak about this in the past. I'd like you to speak about it now. Can you talk about the strategic destruction of black men and how the black community assists in the destruction of black men?
Sure. So in order to really get a full understanding, we need to go back. And we need to go back into about the 60s, when up until that time, black families were getting married at the highest rates. They were out marrying whites at that time. When the welfare system came into play, they created the man in the house rule, which removed men from the homes, in which the government now became the men of the family. So with that, it started to perpetuate a feeling that women started to feel as if they didn't need men anymore. Then on top of that, we had the feminist movement. So that also started to perpetuate the independent, strong Black woman. That label started to be put on us as well. Then you go into the 80s, then you got Oprah that comes into play. So from that, it's like, okay, women now are starting to be on television. We're starting to produce movies and books. You got Terry McMillan, How to Get Your Groove Back, and all of this stuff. And then women just started to think like, hey, I don't need a man. At which time now our men are being incarcerated at high numbers because of the crack epidemic. You know, they're dying, jails, all of these things. So now they're starting to look worthless, right? So if I'm at the time, they weren't CEOs. And
I remembered this slow progression. I remembered when I used to support the whole feminist movement. I remembered, thinking, I got sisters. I have 5 sisters, so you understand. I want them to be successful. And because I was the only boy, I felt like, I should be able to support my sisters. But on the other hand, I did see this sort of feeling that, the whole black man ain't shit kind of mentality coming from women. I remembered it, but it was a slow progression. Now, I'm assuming that in America it was a lot faster, but when you're in the Caribbean, you remember everything sort of slowly gets transferred over there. Then it slowly creeps across the globe. So even though we didn't have the problem where we were kicking black men out of the home, the idea that black men weren't needed, that was perpetrated throughout the society. Women felt that they were empowered to do it on their own. So that you understand this clearly, we never had the welfare system in any other country. But that was the source of the problem. If you want to relate it to COVID, hey, COVID might have started in a fish market. Doesn't matter. But the point is, it infiltrated the rest of the globe until everybody had the virus. But who cares? No one cares about how and where it started. A lot of people were dying from it. We had the feminist movement, the strong independent woman, and we had the Oprah Winfrey Show. Every single freaking time Oprah came on, I remember the whole family is just crowded around the television. So we had that slow infiltration. And listen, I talk to women here across the entire globe. The majority of my listeners and followers are from the US. The second largest group is from the UK. Third is the Caribbean. And it's the same thing, the same black people who have the same problems. So it shows you that this is a virus that's spread. But let's continue. She's going to get more into it.
At which time now our men are being incarcerated at high numbers because of the crack epidemic. They're dying, jails, all of these things. So now they're starting to look worthless, right? So if I'm at the time, they weren't CEOs and CFOs at the time, the women, but if I have an office job and I'm making $50,000-$40,000, what am I going to do with this man? I don't need him at this point. So then we started to teach that. We started to teach that to our girls. We started mothering our sons, teaching our daughters to be strong and independent. And then you have social media, which now came into play in this new century of big baddies and boss chicks and all of that. So I think that it's an accumulation.
Social media was like the catalyst. If you want to keep with the same analogy of COVID, social media was like a large puff of wind that took the virus and just blew it across the world. That's what the equivalent of social media and how it affected the movement. It just spread it like wildfire. So every woman around the world started with the same shit. and it hit all the big cities. And then politicians realize, women are a power. Let's follow that shit. Let's support the women. They're a major demographic. Retailers realize, this is a movement that we can support because women spend more money than men. Let's support that. The colleges jumped on it because, hey, this is a large untapped market that we haven't gotten yet. Let's start catering to those women so we can get them into the colleges. Because listen, colleges is a business like anything else. Before, they had half of the demographic that was more prominent in colleges. What if we can expand our customer base times 2? Let's get those women in here. What do women need? How do we attract these women? We need to have more subjects that women would prefer. Women are going to like too many of those boring jobs, but they're going to like more of the soft sciences. Literature and social studies, gender studies, and all of these other soft sciences that women jumped on. Will this bring money to the women when they enter the workforce? No, not really. But they were encouraged, get your degree, girl. Governments could lend more money. Student loans, yes. We can get more and more money from these women because they're going to be borrowing this money from us. The amount of money we're going to be making from these women. And it just went on and on and on and on. So guys, I'm hoping that you will see the connections and why we're here. Follow the money. It's not that difficult. Follow the money. But women don't realize how they've been conned, how they've been sold to. They don't see it because the messaging was so powerful, and because it was empowering for them, they thought it was empowering, they jumped on it.
Of things, I think that, I don't want to say the man or the government, I think they started it and we picked up the baton, Black women, and ran with it. Because at this point, we really think there's no use for you all. So,
you know what's wild? I was speaking to a lady one time, right? And she didn't say that Black men are useless. She said she was taught indirectly that Black men, and this is an educated young lady too. She was taught indirectly that Black men are useless. And it was kind of wild in the sense that here you have an educated person who is married saying that. I was taught indirectly that Black men are useless.
And I'm not surprised. I was taught that because I was raised by a single mother, right? So, and I have 3 sisters. So she was raising 4 girls, and she had to teach us to be strong. I guess she felt that she needed us to be strong, and in being strong, that meant you do not depend on a man. Men are dogs. They'll hurt you. You need to do your own thing. So subconsciously and not indirectly, directly, we were taught these things. I personally should be part of that She Woman Man Hater Club because of what I was taught, but I'm not. Look at TV. Look at how you portrayed. I had a conversation on the way here. The only portrayals that we see of you all, dead, jail, deadbeats. Where are the Bill Cosbys?
The fact that she broke away from the shackles of the crap that she was told, it's very important for you ladies to identify that you have been sold, you have been lied to, and you can either do one or 2 things, or both. Number 1, if you're older, your time is gone, 40s, 50s, 60s, and you're alone, first thing you have to do is find a man who you're qualified for. Find a man who you're qualified for. Apologize to him. Tell him you have seen the bullshit that you have been sold. Tell him that, because you need to first admit that, hey, this is my mindset. This is what I was told, and now I no longer see it that way. Because men are extremely cautious about any woman he gets involved with. You got to say, I'm sorry, this is what I was taught. And I realized as I got older and I get more information, I realized that I was wrong. Any man you tell that to, he will gladly look at you and say, hey, you're a good woman, I'll give you a chance with a relationship. Because as it stands now, men aren't giving you guys any freaking chances with relationship. At least not the men you want. But that's the second thing that you have to come to grips with. You're not going to get the top men. Get that out of your head. Those top men have choices. And trust me, it's not going to be mid-30s, 40s, 50s, or 60-year-old women. They're not going to do it. So
The only portrayals that we see of you all, dead, jail, deadbeats. Where are the Bill Cosbys?
Oh, just a comedian also. I notice I see a lot of shows and movies. The man is presented as someone who is unreliable, someone who's very, almost a buffoonish vibe. Both for black men and white men too, in their defense, right? But it's like, it's a vibe where it's like you're definitely not dependable, and you're not to be taken seriously in the TV shows and movies, you know?
But when you say also white men too, when they do it, it's comedy. It's not something that sticks with them. When you all do it, that becomes a part of your characteristic and who you are as an individual and as a man. And unfortunately, I'm not saying, I mean, there's good and bad apples in every bunch, but the bad apples are the ones that are being put on Front Street and that everybody is seeing. So like you're sitting here doing this, doing your thing, but you're categorized as a no good black man if you walk down the street and nobody knows anything about you.
Even if they know something about you, still ain't shit.
That's right.
It's just the truth, you know? It is. How long have you been married?
For 13 years.
13 years. How were you able to?
black men were always recognized as drug dealer, pimp, gangster, rapper, basketball player, or football player. Those were all the categories, were the ones that I was asked. From people who didn't know me, it was never, oh, are you a businessman or were you anything else? You don't understand the power of media. And the biggest propaganda machine coming out of America is Hollywood. It's disgusting. It's disgusting. Now, I've worked in Bollywood, and the same thing applies. Even the Indians, if they're too dark, they don't get the top parts. If you're too melanated, you're not going to get the top parts, even up to today. But that's the destruction of the black man. The only place that the black man has a rightful place is out of the African nations. Yeah.
So when did you learn to have a sustainable relationship?
To be honest, and I don't know how she's gonna feel about this, but my mom had got remarried when I was about 13, and I saw the relationship between her and my stepdad, and I said I didn't want that. I wanted something different. I felt that when you love somebody, that there's a way that you treat people, and he was not my example of what a man was or what a relationship should be. I had a grandparent, well, both of my grandparents were married until the other one passed away. I have an aunt that married into my family with my mother's brother. I watched her be a wife. You know, she was my example of a godly woman and how a wife should be. And I took a lot of that from her. But innately, I just didn't feel that all men were bad. You know, I mean, I've had bad experience.
And I'm so concerned about the YouTube and the social media atmosphere. You do not get a lot of well-rounded, married, happy, working women who are on social media. We do not get great examples of women who are happily married, who are in good functional marriages, that are putting content out on YouTube so that these women can see examples of what it is to be in a good marriage. I wish I could bring my wife on, but she has absolutely no desire to be public. It wouldn't suit her job as well. So I have to be very careful, right? Even mentioning her, she gets a little bit testy, should I say. My daughters they have no desire to be online. Now that's part of my influence where I'm just warning them, stay off of social media, don't get involved with this whole narcissistic on there going every day. No, Don't do that. So they're quite modest in the way they present themselves to the world. And in saying that, I'm actually trying to talk all the women right now who I know that are in normal marriages to just come on the show and just have a good conversation about what it's like being in a happy, healthy relationship. Just normal. And you know, the problem with this is it's not exactly exciting content, because everyday normal events isn't that exciting. So I can understand why no one wants to do it. They probably think that who wants to watch me go through everyday life where it's just normal. Unfortunately, it's only the crazy shit that's entertaining. People want to see other people's destruction. People want to see other people's drama. That's why all of these celebrity housewife shows are so damn successful, because you're seeing, I hate this word, but I'm going to use it because you know what I'm doing, toxic people going through their everyday life, because it's exciting, but it's not life. It's not your average person going through life. Wives out there who want to do well on social media, tell us about your boring life. And give these young people some examples on what good life is.
I mean, I've had bad experiences with men.
And swallow the poison.
But not a little bit, a lot of bit, but it wasn't enough for me to just damn all black men to hell. Like, no, I love black men. You know, I have a black son. You know, I got a black brother-in-law that just drove 2 hours to come with me to make sure that I'm safe. So when black women are talking about there are no good black men out here, black men don't care if you're safe or not, that's not my experience. I don't even think a lot of these women go through the things that they're saying, right? I think that they are mimicking and they're just in this echo chamber, right? Because right now it's hot. It's
cool.
It's hot to hate you. That's where you get the likes, the views, you get, you know, all of this other stuff. I don't even think that 90% of these women go through half of the crap that they are complaining about black men about. What I find funny is you have a black son, right? And you're saying this stuff, right? So what kind of man are you going to be putting into the world if you hate black men so much and you're out here proclaiming this? Your son is hearing this. So this is how I think it's systematic. It's because now they're hearing their mom complain about black men. Well, I'm a black man, so where does that leave me? So then you have another generation of a low self-esteem, young black men out in the world that don't trust women, that feel that women, you know, find no value in them. So what? Then we have a problem.
I'm going to end it right there. And I'm just going to say, she hit the nail on the head. You know, Mr. Kevin Samuels, rest in peace, brother. I love whenever he interviewed women and they talk about the black man and he ain't this, he ain't that, and he's horrible. And then you ask them, do you have any black sons?
Listen to what I'm about to say, because it may sound harsh this way, but listen to what I'm about to say. You got a daughter?
I do.
You got a son.
Yes.
Now imagine the son you raise, you love.
Mm-hmm.
You groom him to be a high value, productive, competitive, successful man.
Mm-hmm.
Right. Would you want him getting with a woman that treats him like you treat men?
I don't know.
The defensive laugh always tells the truth. See, these ladies have no problem messing with somebody else's sons. But say to do it to their boy, then they will want to kill you. French toast out of here.
Then they realize the error of their ways. Gentlemen, this is where we are. Ladies, please identify the mistakes. See where it came from. Understand the seed so that you can weed it out. Get rid of it. I think we need to really heal the black community together. We need to actually start now. We need to start now because it's not going in the right direction. And I think she's right. A lot of these women you see complaining about black men, They've never had any bad experiences with men, but because it's making good content, it's a big thing now. Every woman starts to fantasize about all the black men. They treat them like crap. All right, guys, listen, subscribe. Let me hear your thoughts. I want to know. I think this is an amazing subject. Thanks so much to these guys for putting out this great content. I'm going to put the link to the video in the description of this video, just so that you guys can go and listen to the rest of this. But I think it's a great show. They're doing great work. All right. Listen, subscribe. Of course, you can always get me over on Instagram. And listen, let's heal. Let's get this black community back in order. All right. So remember, whenever in doubt, always, always, always ask an older man. I'll see you in the next one. Cheers.